It gives me very great pleasure to join you all today, in which you're going to celebrate Victory Day with particular reference to the Arctic Convoys. It always seems to me that when you're regarding something like a world war, it makes you realize that several million people are involved on either side of the struggle, and that it falls to a rather small proportion who were there at key moments and key times. So they can't say, well, I won the war, but you know, if I hadn't been there, maybe we would have lost. And that happens quite a lot of times. Last month I was in Malta, who just survived the Blitz on Malta and had just enough food as a result of the convoys that came there that they didn't have to surrender, although it was a matter of days or even hours. And although you can't say that Malta won the war, if it had fallen, it would have been much more difficult in North Africa and so on and so forth. And so it is also with the Arctic Convoys. But I suppose what's special about them is that although all sailors take a risk when they go into the environment of the oceans, but those that go north amongst the icebergs know that if anything goes wrong, a watery grave is going to be very quick and certain. And it is because of that special bravery, or that special reluctance to consider the risks, that makes the Arctic Convoys very special. And when I see your white berets, it reminds me of the risks that you took. And I'm delighted to be here today to join you in your celebration. I do have a message from Her Majesty. As you gather on the 71st anniversary of the first Arctic Convoy, we again remember and acknowledge the courage shown and the sacrifices made by British and Russian servicemen in the name of freedom. In this, the year of my Diamond Jubilee, I am pleased to send my warm good wishes to those veterans who have travelled from Moscow and their British comrades in commemorating this historic occasion on HMS Belfast today. Elizabeth R. And so it is with great pleasure that I congratulate you on the association that you have created for this occasion. And I hope that many happier memories will come to you as you think back to those times. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Royal Highness. I would like to ask Russian Ambassador Alexander Yakovenko to speak. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Royal Highness, dear veterans, my lords, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for this opportunity to join you today on this very special day for the Russians. I'm quite sure that most of you know that Russia lost 25 millions in this war, and the war was tough. And this day is really special for us. And today we had a huge parade in Moscow, in a Red Square, where there was a place for everybody, for those who fought against fascism. And of course, you were remembered in Moscow. And I know that a lot of salutes were made, you know, in your memory and in your glory, I would like to say. Because for us, our allies in this terrible war is a real treasure, and we really cherish all of you. And we here in London, and for us it's very important, you know, to keep these traditions with you, because, you know, Second World War and everything what is connected is very close to the heart of the most of the Russians, and of course I'm quite sure for the most of the population of Britain. For example, my father, he He fought, on the so-called Western Front for almost 5 years. Thanks God, he was alive at that time after the war. But he wrote 12 books about his feelings during this war, and I'm still surprised, how people suffered and how strong they were. And I would like to say that I've seen several films about the convoys, and I'm really surprised, and proud of the courage of those who basically were they were forwarding the ships, and they didn't know whether they would come back to their country alive or not. And this is something which is really very important for us, for Russians. And I would just want to thank you for everything what you did in the past, and I wish you, all those who are here and who couldn't come, good health, because the memory this is part of our life, and this is very important to remember everything in order not to let fascism appear once again on the territory of our earth. And this is it's not just the past, this is the present, and for us this is very important. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Lords, ladies and gentlemen, friends from the Royal Navy of the Second World War and from the Merchant Navy, and their comrades from Russia, welcome to all of you. It's a great joy yet again to be here. I agree absolutely what's been said so far. It is crucial we remember things like the Second World War, the way our two nations worked together, the extreme hardship then. I thought as I waited in the rain with His Royal Highness to come over in a boat, because the gangway had collapsed, and was it going to be wet weather routine, and it was drizzling, and we had to cram everyone in, and we're not sure about the gangway. I thought, these are all the things that actually make an event like this a little bit special. And then you think back to the Second World War, and the huge things that were going wrong, where people sent convoys to scatter because they thought a capital ship was coming out, where people actually made decisions in terms of use of intelligence that led to the lives or the death of thousands of people, and you suddenly realise that it's by pulling together, by working together, we can overcome all of those things. Tiny little scale today on a huge scale in the war. Many of you from the Royal Navy who did the Arctic Convoys are friends of mine. You tried to drink me under the table in Murmansk on a couple of occasions. I still have a few brain cells alive, so I've survived that. It was very good to see the Russian veterans last night, whether a sniper from Leningrad or from their navy. Wonderful to see them. These memories are very, very important. I think actually in Russia you probably remember Victory in Europe Day more than we do in our country. And I think when a nation forgets these things, we make terrible mistakes and things happen again. And it's so easy on a quiet, calm day like this. Ship's not moving, it's warm, we're out of the rain. As I've said before, you forget that a ship even this size absolutely throws itself around like a cow in the bad sea. You're being thrown from side to side. The furniture is tied down. The waves are breaking green over the boat deck and forecastle. The ice is forming on the upper deck, where if you don't break it off with steam hoses and hammers, then you're likely to capsize, and sometimes the steam hoses freeze. Those were the sort of conditions. And I think what is marvellous is that Russia now understands how important that the Arctic convoys were, and they say that and they talk about it, and I have no doubt that those Arctic convoys, with the supply of lorries in particular, helped Russia actually win the huge victory she won against the German army. As I've said on numerous occasions, it was the bravery of the Russian people and the Russian army that ripped the guts out of the Nazi war machine. If that had not happened, we might be in a very different world. And I think the fact that you people worked so hard in the Arctic convoys to support that is crucially important. And I think it's very important today like this. And it's lovely to see so many of you here. I'm a bit worried that some of you are now looking better than me. So I obviously haven't looked after my body well enough. But it's great to see you all, and wonderful to see our Russian friends. And thank you to all of the people from within the Russian embassy, from within the firms concerned, who've enabled this to happen. Because I think this Victory Day is important. I do think we must remember these things. And as I say, I think in this country, sometimes we don't make enough of remembering them. Thank you.